Hello, I'm Noah.
And I'm Dylan.
This is Brennan's. This is our Christian podcast. This is Brennan's The Christian Podcast. The
only
Christian podcast. We're not the only one, which I'm glad about, because that means we can do more whatever we want to do.
Yeah.
And not feel pressured. I gotta do these things! With being in so much of the online world, like, I try to connect with other people. Kind of like how, like, churches try to connect with other churches. And so, like, for my channel, Christian Gamer, there's another deal that I'm trying to connect with called Checkpoint Church. They do some good stuff. They definitely take more of the stance of trying to make it more and more of a church online. And so it's very interesting, their style, but very much what they do is like similar to me of like, oh, video games, or they do like anime or different stuff that's popular, and they'll do a sermon basically from that type of thing. And so it's like, okay, cool.
Just save that for the end.
I know, right? Maybe I'll remember. We'll see. Probably not. We'll for ministries we'll be like, VeggieTales maybe.
Not anymore.
But we try to connect with this church. Church it's just interesting of seeing more of what they do and the differences they choose compared to my channel, which is much more on the entertainment side. And my point is just for adding more Christian content that Christians can enjoy in their day-to-day lives. So theirs is they're adding in more implements of like, this is what a church does. So it's like, hey, if we are calling ourselves a church, how do we do that? And so like one thing is like they're literally setting up meetups or setting up things to mail in like bread and drink so that they could do like communion with like the people. So it's like, oh, that's cool, it's interesting, but like, you know, it's good to have other people doing things, because then that means I don't have to do that. I can be where I feel passionate.
You have more freedom.
Me. Similar to here, there's probably other podcasts that are Christian based that are way more Bible focused. We try to be Bible focused. I think we are, but we because there's so many other people, we can be unique, and God can use that by us talking about VeggieTales.
Don't have to sit down and write a sermon each and then compare notes.
Yeah. I mean, that would also be fun in my mind, but that's different. Today, we're talking about King George. VeggieTales. What you were saying, it's not the modern hits, but some people look at it as
it's like
prime.
Yeah, the prime. It's when they were making a lot of money. People were coming from Disney and other anime places, animation places, to come in and work on VeggieTales rather than like, I don't know, what was going on in Disney in the 2000s?
Probably a lot.
Like Treasure Planet. It was like, I don't know.
Good.
Just
I love those films, but whatever.
But they were like, it was like the peak of animation at the time. Like it was up there with the big dogs.
What little I know is what's called VeggieTales was dealing with like CGI that people weren't really dealing with, and so while it looked weird, but like nobody else was using CGI really.
Nope.
And so
and it was just two college guys out of like their backyard, basically. Had a passion for the Lord. Yep.
And so we'll be talking about King George. They're basically their adaptation of David and Bathsheba. So we'll talk about that later. If you want to jump to that, you can.
Also, check in on last week's episode if you want a little bit more on David and Bathsheba.
Yes, last episode we literally dug into the mention. Oh, are we biblical enough? Well, last episode we literally dived into the chunk of Bible, the Bathsheba. So it's 2 Samuel 11 through 12. We dug into that last time, and so if you listened to that last time, or if you want to later, we're hoping that can be good comparison to what we'll be seeing in VeggieTales there. But for right now, Dylan, I need some scripture.
Scripture.
What's our verse of the day? Scripture verse of the day.
All right, so we took this from the VeggieTale episode.
This is what they use.
This is their
one
scripture.
Biblical scripture they use. Kinda.
It's their application.
Yeah,
scripture.
It's their like, okay, going away.
We'll talk about how
verse.
much scripture they used later.
Yeah.
But they had Romans 12:10. I think I'm gonna expand that just a little bit.
That's fine.
To like Romans like
reading more
12:9 through whenever I feel like it.
Let's go.
All right, scripture of the day. Romans 12. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Don't be selfish.
Don't be selfish. That'll be important. We'll talk about them later. Dylan, how are you doing today?
How am I doing today?
How have you been?
I've been good.
You've been good?
God's still blessing.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Obviously, vice versa would be like, oh no, what did you do? Did you look at a woman bathing and chose to lean into that temptation because you're away from the ark and God's people and where you were supposed to be?
No.
That's good.
That's good.
I'm glad to hear that. Last episode we talked about how I was feeling sick. Still feeling sick. Drinking a lot of tea though, so hopefully the tea can
Was it your sin or was it the sin of your father?
It doesn't work that way. That's what The Chosen told me from the TV series. They said that's not how that works, and I was like, okay. We need to talk about the Chosen series, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. It was a lot of work to watch it. I had to watch this. But yeah, no. I don't think it was from my sin or my father's sin.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, no. It was the sins of the students that my wife has to watch. It was their sins that afflicted us. Because we're hanging out with sinful people.
Yeah, hanging out with the unclean might run.
That's how it works. When you hang out with the unclean,
might develop some leprosy.
Yes, I have to go outside away from everyone for a week or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wash your clothes.
Unclean. But that's good. I mean, I think I'm getting better. That's good, obviously.
Keep drinking the tea.
I'm trying.
Lots of liquids.
I've been very... It feels like I've been very busy this October season. Like this week, there's gonna be like Halloween going on.
Woo, or maybe not woo.
By the time we're done, it's like a few days before Halloween. I think is when this comes out or so. So I think people are getting excited for Halloween. That's cool. Or this comes out after. I actually don't know. I'm still again sick, so please have some grace. But Halloween time's always interesting. I mean, but like this specifically because of what I've been doing online, like this October season, and then I think the biggest thing of why I'm feeling so busy, it's almost like stress, but it's not just stress. It's just like because I have so much of the future planned almost. I'm somebody who's like very much when it comes to plans, I like to know everything going on. I don't like a lot of things. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't plan out for like so far in the future. Like I don't try to do that. Like it's usually like I live week by week.
Week to week.
Usually that's my life. Maybe a little bit more small kind of event coming up. But with everything I've been doing, like it just feels like because I have this month schedule out of everything I'm doing. Then I have November, and then I even have a little bit of December, and then a little bit of the new year of thinking of stuff I want to do next year. And so it's just there's so much of these like almost deadlines I've put up, and so it's just interesting that it's by my own volition too, but almost like I'm feeling this like overwhelming business, and it's like I put up with that. I'm kind of like doing my best to not stress it out and like believe it. Be like, hey, it's okay. God's got this. There's plenty of time to do these things. These are things that are set out. I put these here because I was passionate about these things. Yeah. So it doesn't need to be a negative thing, but I can already feel like just the busy of like everything being scheduled out and getting stuff planned ahead. But it's interesting. I mean, I'm looking forward to the things. It's just they're also a little bit like big projects.
You gotta get there.
It's like big project I have to do, and like, all right, that's gonna take a lot of time and work. I don't enjoy it. That's where I've been at. It's just that business.
Yeah. October has been exciting for me. Been a lot of
fall time.
I put in a lot of pre-orders.
Oh yeah.
A couple months back, and they're all coming up.
Fun.
And so I've been playing Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
Don't spoil.
I won't.
Not. I don't have a PS5. I'm a poor man.
I'm playing Mario Brothers Wonder.
I've heard that came out. Is it good?
It's wacky.
It's wacky?
It's wacky.
You know what? That's
My wife really likes it.
Mario needs to be more wacky. Kids these days don't understand wacky. I need an elephant on the ASAP. Princess Peach needs to be an elephant. And she'll be beautiful.
What else? Oh, my wife and I, big Taylor Swift fans.
Oh.
The new release coming out. New old album. Some episode I do kind of want, like, as a fan of Taylor Swift, but also like watching the world like bow down to her. Sometime I want to talk about, like, as a Christian, how do we reconcile this?
Yeah. No, sure. She was very popular.
Yeah.
I do not follow her, but still I'm getting information about her.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not trying to. It's because, like, her tickets are selling well. She's doing her tour and all the stuff she's doing. Like,
my wife and I went to the concert in Seattle.
Oh, cool.
We went and watched the concert film at the local movie theater. I think we own almost every album. And yeah.
How dare you?
There were people at the concert outside the concert that were like, turn in your tickets and repent to Jesus.
Oh, really?
Like cornerside preachers telling us that we were sinners and heathens for going in there. And like, yeah, maybe we can talk about that sometime.
Yeah,
like,
no, I mean, definitely.
Well, and not even in Taylor Swift, but like worldly things, like as Christians, how much?
Yeah, is this thing our idol?
Yeah.
In some regards. I mean, we are called idols. I mean, we do use that in our worldly context. We still, in some regards, use that. So it's like, well, that wasn't for no reason. So yeah, definitely. That's.
But yeah, it's pre-order season right now.
Yeah, so a lot of
everything.
Stuff. Yeah, I mean, with what you were saying about the Spider-Man 2, I'm having a fun seasonal thing where I've been blessed, and so there's been a lot of, like, well, in general, a lot of games have been coming out in general, which is ridiculous for consuming it. But like, and I've been blessed enough to be able to jump in and buy some of the new games I wanted to and follow that and be a part of the trend. Which I try to keep good distance of, like, hey, don't be like weird planning.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm a part of the group. We're all buying this. We're all playing this.
Yeah.
Because it is fun to do that. I try to keep a healthy balance, but it is interesting. Then follow up and do this classic from a broke, cheap Christian of when a new game that you want to play or want to know the story comes out, and everybody online's talking about it and playing the game. So I have to go, oh, no!
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of that recently, which is fine. It's not the end of the world. It's definitely manageable. I know, these are the worst troubles in my life. How terrible. But have you any Halloween plans? Since we are recording this before Halloween.
Alice and I, October's kind of passed us by.
Yeah.
Like, I think we sat down a week ago and we're like, oh, Halloween's coming up. What are we gonna do?
We kept on, like, because it's fall season, we're like, we would like to do X, Y, G, like go to these different things and do the things, but being busy. It's just, I agree. It's been flying by, and especially with my kind of business, I mentioned putting more on my plate. I'm like, I have these things I need to do, and so that also has kind of almost. I created what time I already have, and so I didn't open up time.
Like we did hit the pumpkin patch last week. I had a spontaneous day off work, so we went.
That's fun.
But yeah, for Halloween, we went down to the berry ranch on Chinden.
Okay.
And did their hayride. we didn't do like the pay $25 and come hang out and take
also,
pictures in our area.
That's also my problem.
To Little
with
Farm.
Is like we us growing up out in the country, the boonies, to some starts the sticks. We're not used to. When you're getting more closer to the cities and whatnot, it gets more commercialized.
Yeah, it's an amusement park.
It's able to charge that much. And it's like, I don't want to pay that much. Like, I love the aesthetic, but like, I've gotten this for free. Why do I have to pay for this? So that also has to make it hard. Is like just knowing where to go, not have to pay. What I feel is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a like $10 each for the like ride to the pumpkin patch. But yeah, it was better than amusement park prices.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
Yeah,
but like no Halloween plans.
Like
you sinful Christian who follows.
We might throw a little party at our house for
fun,
like basically ourselves.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if people will trick or treat at an apartment complex. I have no idea,
because we're in that stage of life where now we're the treators.
Yeah, and so like I don't know if a kid will come to our door or not, but we'll have some candy ready.
Yeah. That's what we were thinking too. Yeah. Our plans is my wife is working the night because somebody has to work. Someone has to be at the center she works at. Like, that's just the reality. And so, but luckily because she's working at that, she also works. But because of that, she doesn't work Christmas.
Hey, there you go.
So, whatever you got to do.
Give and take.
Yeah. And so, and we don't really celebrate Halloween too much anyway.
No.
So most we do is like watch the movie, friends and whatnot. Like,
yeah.
So, I think this year. I think the closest we're doing is like I'm probably just gonna stream while she's at work. But yeah, if we do like anything for wow. But me streaming, I'm gonna have headphones on.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. So it's like, that's not gonna work.
Trick or treat.
But yeah, I mean, not much Halloween time, which I'm kind of fine with since it's not really something we care too much about.
Yeah.
Kind of like, okay. I mean, it's watching. I just recently been watching some like people who are from non-America.
Yeah.
Stuff are like they're just doing those videos of like we try every Halloween game. But it's like hearing them talk about how they don't celebrate different things. It just really puts in perspective that like still as a Christian, where I feel about Halloween is it's an opportunity to celebrate together.
Yeah.
So that's like that's the reason why I care about it, or it's fine with it. It's like, hey, no, it's an opportunity that I can connect with like.
Yep.
Like, that's why it's like if I don't plan on streaming, I do plan on handing just so I can get to know people, hand them out, and be a part of the community and build a connection. But like besides that, like dressing up, you all sinners.
Yeah.
Not really a focus point. It's I don't think it's opening ourselves up to. I mean, obviously, Halloween time does attract more attention towards doing those activities than like playing Ouija boards and stuff like that. Which open that.
Yeah.
Asking for trouble.
Come on.
As we mentioned early on in the podcast about being away from God and the Ark and how you're asking for trouble. That's one of those. You're kind of asking for trouble.
You're playing with. Bringing Samuel back from
trying to talk with
from beyond.
Samuel, what am I supposed to do? What do you mean? Talk with God, not be a God. Like you didn't need me. Like crazy Saul.
Yeah, something we might stop by is our church is doing a trunk or treat.
Oh, that's cool.
And
yeah, those are fun.
They do it. They have an interesting thing that I haven't seen, but it's part of like the community and like taking care of your people and the people in the community. Is they have the main trunk or treat hours, but the 2 hours before the trunk or treat, they have a trunk or treat that's less colors and sound in your face for our disabled community.
Okay, cool.
So they have like 2 hours for like the disabled community to come in, and it's like less extreme and
that's
not in your face and patient people and stuff. And then later there's the, regular crowd and so. Yeah.
I would like to mention how my church is doing it, but since I've been sick, we were gonna watch online service, but like I just passed out, so like we didn't even get up for it. So I don't know how our church is doing.
Heathen.
I guess I'll find out this Sunday. So I think I have one more Sunday before out.
I think so. I think
maybe
it's
I'll find out last second.
It's Halloween on a Monday?
I think it's Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay.
No, it's Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah,
it's on a Tuesday?
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's kind of our Halloween plans. It's kind of lame. Whatever.
Lame.
I have one more thing that
you don't have your costume on.
I know.
Lame.
I'm gonna wear the same costume everywhere.
I don't think I have a costume this year.
That's
I'll be a friendly man.
I'm a friendly man.
Yeah.
I'm a Christian.
Put on a bathrobe, a crown, and get a ducky, and I'll be King George.
Nailed it. Perfect. Who? King George? What's that?
King of Britain, I think?
King of Britain?
Britannia?
One last thing that I remember to talk about, and it's not something I've done too much about, because technically it wasn't supposed to be something that I shared, but I figured I might as well share with you guys, just like kind of document my journey. I can bring back like, hey, how's it going? And it'll help keep me accountable to keep doing this, because like I thought about it and then I haven't done it too much. And it's what I'm calling tithing giving. And so right now all it is a classic tithe. Pay 10% of your money to church or ministry.
Yeah.
Yada yada. That's what like is pretty almost like standard. What I'm trying to do is move it into more of my life, more of the way. So like one thing I do every morning when I get up is what I try to do is get up, read my Bible, brew it. I'll have like my coffee brewing. And so once my coffee's done, I can kind of have that Bible reading. But what I'm starting to do is like take a bit of that. I waste it, I pour it out, but it's just it's me literally praying and giving it up to him. I was like, thank you for what he has blessed me. Like giving it away just because that tithing. So it's like it's just something small that like I didn't even talk to my wife about. I haven't told her about it, but it's just something that I think it's an easy way that I can sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's more in my life. What I'm trying, I just started it, and so I'm gonna keep trying to do it. Obviously, I know you can go extreme with it, but playing it by ear and just seeing how it can possibly impact for my walk. So,
yeah,
that's one thing I like. Oh yeah, I forgot I was doing this. I was like, oh cool, and so I was trying. That's something I'm doing. I'll check it maybe later if I remember about it. But yeah. Any last things going on in your life, Dylan? Or anything about to happen? A boot?
We're getting closer to Christmas break, so it's test season. My wife is currently in an advanced Bible doctrine test, doing way more Bible stuff than we are right now.
What? You talking
more
VeggieTales, Bible stuff?
Revelation and Christology and Ascension and Resurrection and I was helping her study last night and it was a lot of stuff. Millennialism, post-millennialism,
different types.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
We'll have her on and have her just explain it all.
We were talking about like, oh man. Are we ever going to do a podcast on that?
Maybe, but I don't want to.
We could. I mean, that's the thing. Is like the only reason why I'd want to because it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Some people don't know, and so it's like it would be cool to talk about the different types. Go into it that like we don't know which one it is, and these are just what people believe. Because
Yep.
I think a lot of people, when it comes to like Revelation, it's either I don't know or I heard of it. That's it.
Yep.
So there's just like, I don't know, mix. So I think that can help communicate some of where, at least as a large whole, as the church community, where we're at. And so it'd be cool to talk about it. But it's one of those where it gets so contentious and there's so much false stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, it becomes such an easy like debate machine that it's just like it's not fun. It's not interesting. It becomes like it's similar to like talking about politics type situation. Of like so many people have like weird emotions, things that they think is right. And so it's just, I don't know. Instead of breeding more arguments. And we personally like to cover things that's going on in our life, like now, or what comes to mind, or what we're like passionate. So it's like maybe we'll cover at some point. Well, I don't know. We'll see. But that's fun that she gets to take a big old test about it.
Yeah, tests. I don't know. I really don't. I like the validation of tests.
Yeah.
The like.
I guess.
All right, I knew it.
I knew it.
What this one person thinks and puts on his paper, I can write down.
Yeah. He's the one word because I know there's people out there who like when they take tests they get the whole test.
Yeah.
It's impossible for them, but like tests aren't like that for me. Really.
I don't want to.
And I feel like them know. Like,
yeah.
It's just like we understand.
It was a time. I like the application more.
I like studying it. Studying's fun.
I like the studying. I like the application. The testing.
Yeah. Either way, Dylan, should we talk about a certain person, a certain king named George?
King George.
King Jorge?
You know, King... I'm not... Isn't this a Bible podcast?
Why did they name it? Alright, well, I know why they didn't name it just King David. You know what makes me mad that they didn't name it King David?
What makes you mad about that?
They already did a thing about King David.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that if you're going to follow up on King David's story, follow up with King David. But, yes, today we're talking about, is it King George and the Rubber Ducky?
I believe so.
Or is it just the Ducky?
King George and the Ducky.
If you want to watch this, you can just watch it.
YouTube, VeggieTales official YouTube channel has it for free.
So go watch it, go check it out, and then come back. Even if you don't think you know what you're talking about, you remember it, go and watch it.
Yeah.
Or don't. Or
probably watched it in a Sunday school class in like the early 2000s. Might as well watch it again. Get a refresher.
Yeah, I guess if you're at work or whatever, just watch it later. Or don't. Just listen to us and then watch. I think it would be fun to hear us rant about it and watch it. Like, no, they said that wrong. That'd be fun. But yeah, so we watched this separately. I watched it. I got to watch it with my wife. Let's give a little history. What's our history with VeggieTales? Because I think our histories are a bit
probably vastly different. Because the reason I suggested this is because it's something that I had seen before.
I had never
many
seen
times.
King George and the Rubber Ducky, or the Ducky. My wife, she loves VeggieTales. She grew up with VeggieTales. She watched them. When I grew up, I think what it sounded like is she had the classic a few VHS tapes. She had like a few, and so she watched those a lot. And so she watched it a lot. She mentioned a few others that were ones I didn't know they covered at all. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I watched only a few growing up. I mean, my Christian family, as I kind of mentioned, were more similar to like the I almost called it the stay-at-home Christian, but it's the Sunday church Christian. So it's like, all right, we come to church, and that's mostly when we're Christians. Like, sure, we try a few things outside. And my family has tried to do something. Like one time we tried to do like family devotion time, and then we didn't. we were kids and we didn't care. We were bored and trying to sleep. I remember trying to sleep. But like, you know, so like my family tried a few things.
Yeah.
They try stuff here and there. Like old Christian music are right. But like, besides that, it's not like heavy focus, which is fine. You know, sometimes God will still use that. But you know, luckily I had seen some VeggieTales in my life. I've seen Larry Boy in the weed in the fib. I know those.
Yeah.
I even saw some Larry Boy and some Indiana Jones mock-up. For some reason, they chose that. Because of money. Which we'll talk about, probably. What else have I seen? I don't know. I've seen a lot of those. I've seen David and Goliath. Of like the old ones, I think David and Goliath is like the only one. Because I did not see this, and I can't think of much else.
Yeah, I remember it always being like the Bible story. Like how I remember VeggieTales is like it's like almost straight from the Bible.
The trailers of the Bible stories, but I don't.
But I can actually only think of like 3 or 4.
Yeah, Jonah was the big one.
Yeah,
but
I can only think of like 3 or 4 that were like the literal text in the Bible and not like a movie parody.
Yeah, no, that's all I could think.
And I was like, well, the old ones were all the Bible, but like one of the first episodes is a Star Trek parody.
Really?
Yeah,
that's funny. The creative geeks.
Yeah.
What a bunch of geeks. Hey, I'll take it. Why not?
It's nothing different than what I would do.
Yeah, no, I don't play them, but it's funny because they're geeks. But
yeah, no, I my family was sold out for VeggieTales. Oh yeah. Back in the day, I think there's still some going on. Back in the day, they were like everywhere. It's called Christian bookstores.
Oh yeah.
And Christian bookstores were these places that moms and dads could go get Bibles for their kiddos, get resource books and stuff. And there was a whole section of VeggieTales. And like,
I think I've been there once, and that's where I got the Indiana Jones version. And I was like,
what?
I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I was a kid, but it was very much
what?
Like, looking back, I'm like, huh? They did just made Larry Boy Indiana Jones.
Yeah. No, that's
why? Why Indiana Jones? Of all the people you're gonna pick, like Indiana Jones wasn't even that popular. Like I'd like to look back on it as like iconic, but even like throughout time,
it's just what they were fascinated with. Like they,
I guess so, right?
Like
you make stuff you're passionate about.
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense.
But yeah, we would go whenever we go to the Christian bookstore. I'd be like, "Hey, can we get a VeggieTale?" Yeah. And I'd be like, "Yeah, what's the new one?" And then my cousins were even more sold out for VeggieTale.
Really?
They got Loot Crate VeggieTale. Like they got a box in the mail that had the new episode, like coloring pages, merchandise, a behind the scenes like how to draw things.
I
like
didn't know they had that. That's crazy.
I think it was like only available for like churches, but somehow like they signed up as if like their house was a church.
Yeah, I imagine it was something like that.
But yeah, they would get all that and they get it like before everyone else and cool stuff. Oh man, my favorite VeggieTale. It literally nothing to do with the Bible besides like good moral lesson. My favorite is they did like 5 episodes of Larry Boy in a parody of like Batman the Animated Series, like not CGI, all like 2D, like the whole I'll have to show you the like intro. It's literally like a 1-for-1 of the Batman the Animated Series intro, but Larry Boy. And
what a bunch of geeks. You're such nerds.
But at the time, and even today kind of, their whole stick was Sunday morning values with Saturday morning fun. And basically there was no good cartoons for Christian kids. And how is Hermie the Worm gonna compete with 2005 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the Fox box?
bring up, yeah, I grew up with these. And I was like, I see one episode of this, and it traumatized. Like, that is burned in my brain. That badly animated worms.
But like, how is that going to compete with like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, like the other stuff that happened on Saturday morning?
Yeah, no,
and so that was their passion. So they're like, if we're gonna do this, let's do it right, and let's like invest. Like, they were one of the first people to do CGI.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that off screen, about like you were mentioning about literally people from Disney coming over.
Yeah,
once they got in prime time. But yeah, it's like they were like one of the few early ons using CGI, and like sure, it's easy to look back and be like, it looked bad, but like it was still like
it was high tech at the time.
People weren't using these, like they weren't doing this.
It's like, look up like 1989 VeggieTales and the 1989 other like Christian and even like other cartoon things coming on, and put it all side to side, and you'll see like, oh, this is like ahead of the game. And then like they weren't afraid to make a joke or to like do the Bible story but poke fun at the characters in the Bible in a tasteful way,
which makes it fun, you know.
And so like
it didn't take itself too serious, I guess, is a way to put it.
No,
it still made sure to have the fun, which I think, again, like, you know, we were talking about VeggieTales, and like, you guys probably know VeggieTales, whether you actually grew up watching it or not. Like,
I know a lot of people that are not Christian, did not grow in a Christian household, and yet VeggieTales was a positive thing that could keep the kids quiet for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And so parents would turn it on, you know.
Yeah, you mentioned some other like Christian shows, and like I didn't grow up with those.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about them until much later from you, like Bible Man and stuff like that. Like, and just think about that. Like that is the crazy part of VeggieTales, is that, you know, it is like kind of the only thing most people will probably think of if they can't think of anything. It's like
meme culture too. Like they're all over. Like,
oh yeah,
this talking cucumber and tomato.
So you know, that's a lot of VeggieTales and the impact it's made. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that meant for it. We both agree that it has come into play to affect some of what it does. But yeah, you wanted to talk about this for a specific reason, and I was all for it, even though I hadn't seen it, just because, you know, I know of VeggieTales, and so us covering it seems fun. Obviously, I mean, why not? Why not make fun of a kids show? Why not? Critique about how wrong they are. Again, you know, I enjoyed stuff like Jonah and some other stuff. So I was like, all right, I was expecting some good things, and my wife, again, this was one of the ones she grew up with, so she was really excited.
She's defensive.
And
that's what you were telling me.
Boy, yeah, well, yeah, she doesn't like my critiques.
It's her childhood.
She doesn't like when I like to poke fun at things. She's like, stop. I'm trying to enjoy this. I'm sorry. I'm having fun.
Like, this is my homework, Bethany.
Yeah, this is my homework. I was told to do this, all right? I'll get in trouble with Dylan if I don't do this. So, already, right at the beginning, I was just like, this is a kid show. I forgot.
Yeah.
We have to do all these preludes and this different kind of like setups to the main event. Which we get, what is he called? The Banana Man?
The Englishman who went up the hill and came down with all the bananas.
That's the title. That's the one we're going with. That's the one we're going with. Yeah, so they have a fun little intro story that's basically
socialism.
Yeah. You're right.
Modern economy.
You're correct. So yeah, they do a quick little story of like, hey, there's a man who is super selfish. He went out, took all the bananas, and then went down.
And then
he's so selfish. I will say, whenever it was happening, look, I was having none of it in the moment, but in my mind, I was like, all right, this is fun for a kid. Like, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's whatever.
And then there was a Swedish man who went up the hill and came down with all the strawberries.
Totally Swedish.
But
oh man, he wants a banana.
Yeah, you can't eat strawberries without bananas.
Yeah,
and they won't share. So they all go to waste.
Yeah, they ask him, oh, have it? No. You're so selfish. That one asked, oh no, you're so selfish. Oh. How does that relate with David and Bathsheba, Dylan?
Well, they got a letter about selfish kids, and they have to tell a Bible story. Or story.
Yeah, so what do you pick? The story they use as like a... Actually, that's one thing I'm curious about. I mean, Live, I didn't do enough research into VeggieTales.
Mm-hmm.
But like, were those letters authentic?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because they always like,
they always start off with a letter
from this kid and here's the message for you.
Yeah.
Because if it was like real, that's not cool. I can understand if it's mixed. If it's
probably
we made some and then we got letters, so why not? If there's actually a letter we can make it put on, we'll do it. Because that'd be cool. But
I know I was reading the VeggieTale the VeggieTale wiki on this episode.
You can't trust the wiki. I think so.
And it was reported that by the creator that they got a lot of hate mail from this episode because it was the first episode that Larry was evil or acting mean, and a lot of kids were like, I don't like it that Larry's mean.
Larry's not like this. Why is he doing this?
Yeah.
Alright.
But
so they got hate mail.
Hate mail, and like, I don't like that Larry's the bad guy.
I guess that makes sense. If you're used to
He's supposed to be nice.
Yeah, the nice one. Interesting. So yeah, so the kid supposedly that he took a letter was supposedly some kid had toys and didn't want to share with their sibling. That's what we're going off with. So what do we do for that story?
Out of all the stories in the Bible, we choose David and Bathsheba. I say I say they should have done King Solomon and cut the toy in half.
Cut the toy in half? That would have been a hilarious one. But why I make this a point is like, sure, I think overall what they're trying to do is they're just, for me, what it seems like looking in is they're like, oh, let's tell David and Bathsheba, but let's do it for kids. And then from there, oh, what do we say for the kids that like was the problem? Oh, you need to be not selfish.
Yeah.
So that's what it feels like to me. I could be wrong, but it feels like it's that way.
It almost feels not forced, but like backwards. Yeah,
like where it's not like, oh, there's an issue. What do we do for the issue? Oh, here's the thing we found that.
Yeah.
It feels like the opposite of we want to tell the story. How do we find one that's for kids? This kind of works for kids. That's what it feels like to me. I could be wrong. But, so, I making that point just because they make it a point as the problem is the kid doesn't want to share.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the point. And it rubs me the wrong way, as I'll talk about a little bit later, is when you're telling what the points, because they do change it. They do change the story, and they don't ever reference that they're actually doing David and Bathsheba.
Yeah.
There's certain points that will come up that are exactly the same, which makes it very on the nose and clear that it's supposed to be, but they never make a point, and in their credit, they never name it David and Bathsheba. So, in all fairness, they do make somewhat of a connection to kind of show that, like, this is not David and Bathsheba. This is not the same story, which on its own, I think it's good because then it's not teaching kids the Bible wrong.
Yeah.
It's not saying this is the story and then telling it differently because it's for kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, oh, let's tell a story. But
use Bible value.
It's basically what happened here, but let's tweak it and not connected to this thing. But we all understand it's the same story. So that's where we get King George.
Yeah. From the from the commentary on the video, the studio commentary, because we know as kids we all listen to the studio commentaries.
Once I heard it. Once I listened to it.
Phil Vischer, the guy that makes VeggieTales, pointed out that this was the most risky episode Big Idea had ever produced at the time. Since the original Bible story, the episode is based on more adult themes.
Sex!
The original 10-page script was called King David and the Bath Ducky. The story was just the same as the original Bible story, but with the rubber duck in the place of Bathsheba. Phil then decided to tweak it, change the names, change the locations, because he didn't want kids to go look it up in the Bible and read it.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know about that part. See, there's a part of it. There's a part where I wish that was worded differently. Because, like, worded differently, that could have been slightly different.
Yeah.
It could have been where...
It's like...
Because you understand the problem is not... As an adult, how do you teach kids about certain sorts of sex? How do you do about like Christian sexual immorality?
Yep.
Well, there's questions of like, hey, when do you do it? And a lot of that, like, it's based on. I think a lot of us think that it's based on the parent. From there, it's from who the parent kind of like allows to teach from there. And so it's kind of hard as like a teacher to teach stuff. How do you teach someone? Do you teach someone about
this?
That was the constant thing when I was critiquing things, because I'm compared to, David and Bathsheba, compared to what we see in the Bible and 2 Samuel 11:12. Bethany's like, well, this is for kids. Come on, it's for kids. They're not supposed to be learning about sex right now. And it's like, that's also where I was asking Dylan, it's like, what was the target audience for the show? Because it's like, you get it.
It's like,
because we think it's kids, but what does that mean? Because, like, well, once you get up to middle school,
I was still watching VeggieTales in middle school.
Should you start tackling these issues? And I think we've been in like, I've been at church before where they were talking about some like terrible things, like we're in Judges, some awful things happen, and like they're what they decided to do was like certain moments where it is a little bit more edgy or push. They make a point, be like, hey, this is what it's gonna be. So if you're not comfortable with this, parents, you're not comfortable with your kids doing that, maybe don't have them in. And so I felt like it's hard, but like almost easier to like. Again, personally, I'm using this as an example because this is where I lean on my stance of like how to do it as someone who creates things. Like for YouTube, I'm doing a video of a game that's like a series I like of a story is called Berserk. Now it has a lot of sexual themes in it, and a lot of violence, but it's in what I would like to say in a raw way. Yeah. So it's not supposed to be glorifying it, but it's still something like out of my own way. I gotta keep some boundaries, keep myself safe. But that is like one of the ones where it's like outlier to like the rule I normally section. Yeah. The story it tells and how it does it and the context. And so on top of that, there's a game that's based from that has like, it took a lot of that thing. So, and I've been playing it for Halloween because it's a little bit more. And so I plan on covering it, and in a like a review I'm planning on doing, I'm literally going to be doing before the video, hey, this is not for everyone, this is what's in it. And I almost wish they did that approach. Yeah. Of like, hey, this is what happened, maybe this isn't for you, and like, because let's be honest, this is up to the parent, right? This is like, the parents should be making the call, and again, the parents should be knowing what they're allowing. That's part of it. Yeah. But that's kind of where from looking into it, where I find, and sure, it's hard to always do that, but I think as someone who creates stuff also, and creates stuff for, while my target audience that I create for is for similar our age, like 20s, early to mid, and that kind of range, I do keep in mind that you're going to get people from other ages. I'm going to get some people that are in their teens or so, and because of that, I have to keep in mind. And like, hey, if this is something that might not be good for them, I need to at least do my part there.
Yeah.
But they definitely took the other approach, changing it so that they can still fit their audience, which is not necessarily wrong. Again, it's one of those where this is a gray area of like a different kind of approach, and that's the other approach.
Yeah.
That's risky. It's just the one part I hate that they say that so they don't look it up in the Bible.
Yeah.
It's like, and deep down you would kind of hope that's the point of these type of things, is that it'll point to something.
It's like
this.
Then just don't do it.
Like it's almost like that would be the ideal goal of like of application of like, okay, someone who watches my stuff, what is like the best case scenario of what they do next? Sure, you want them to go with those ideas of doing good, but you would also want them to live.
Yep.
And so it's like, and I get it because it does have central themes, so it's like definitely, as somebody who's like, oh, I'm showing this to somebody's kids, I don't know where they're at with it.
Yeah.
So it's a hard, interesting, unique situation, and so it kind of makes sense why they're.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Where are you at personally about it?
The reason I want to talk about this is because, like, of all the VeggieTales I watched as a kid, this one, especially later in life, like, came back and I'm like, what? Like, they didn't cover every single Bible verse.
Yeah.
Why this story?
Yeah. That was definitely my thoughts.
Were you just feeling a little rebellious and a little, like, all controversy is good controversy when you're in media? Like, or I just think it was funny? Like, I'm confused. Like, and so that's why I want to talk about it. I was like,
yeah, because even when you said it, and I was telling you, like, oh, did they do David and Goliath before? So, like, that's the thing where it's like, I can see, all right, we did David and Goliath, it's a pretty good one. Want to build upon it. Let's follow David and the next account that, and I think we kind of mentioned it last week with like David and Bathsheba, is like probably of like what Christians call the big Christian stories accounts. It's like, oh yeah, people have heard of Jonah, people have heard of David, and when they hear those names, what's the common thing that's being told is, well, for David, there's two. The two common ones are him with Goliath and then Bathsheba. So that's where I think personally is where they're come from. It's like, oh, this is another big one. Instead of doing something that's like not really covered much, but does feel like at that point, if you're gonna change so much, why do it?
Yeah.
Why don't you just do something else?
It's a Facebook meme.
Yeah.
But it kind of points out like the changes you're making. I get it, but it also doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like, all right, in Esther, the plot comes out, the bad guy is sentenced to death. In VeggieTales Esther, he's banished to the land of perpetual tickling. And then there's
tickling good though? You saying that? Are you telling me that tickling's bad? It should be a punishment? We're gonna get into that's a lot of my thought process when coming with watching King George. There's certain things where I'm like, oh, does this mean this is the message? The takeaway?
Yeah.
Go on though.
And then King George, like, in the original story, David sleeps with a man's wife, has him killed. You know, in this story, David steals a ducky.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, George steals a ducky. And then you get to, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and these people go up against this leader, and he throws them in a furnace. And then you get to the VeggieTales, and these people go up against this leader, and then they're burned alive, or sent to be burned alive in a furnace. It's like, why is that kind of murder like okay to show and like portray, but you know, the tickling land or whatever, like those things that they choose, like it's different, but
I think it's obvious actually why. It's because it's one looked at as like the diluted limit.
Yeah.
So like what is normal? For us, the sad reality is that killing is very normalized. There's so many shows that are on constantly, whether it's glorified or not. Like even just thinking way back when, westerns.
Yeah.
That has. There's so many things in our media that's like there's so much killing and death that like the sad point is to some extent that has been normalized and it's less of deemed as a big problem. Weird. So that's my thought process of why, because I think still sex is, I guess
it's a taboo.
If you want to be like a, basically like, if you want to be so worried about the future, I just people really fearful about that same thing happening with sex, with sexual identity. A lot of that has been such a focus point of the different other things that I would claim as not Christian. So much of that is becoming more and more normalized that who knows, that could be the thing in the future of where that is normalized.
Yeah. But when you make your sexual identity an idol or anything before God, it's just But so I think we can start talking about I think we're at the point where we could talk about King George the Duck. Yeah.
We can go down the events of what happened. So right after that, once we get into
big musical number,
it goes into there's a king named George, and he loves his bath so much, but he loves his ducky even more, and so it's just showcasing him, and then it has
his love for his duck.
Yeah, he just loves his duck. He loves bathing, and it's already putting out. It showcases right off the bat, like, oh, he does it too much to where he doesn't deal with his responsibilities.
Yeah, he's not at war. There's a big war. He's not there. Lewis.
He's telling him, hey, you should be at the war. You need to worry about it. Oh, this war keeps warring. You need to help out. He's like, nah, but I like love my baths. Love my baths with my rubber duck. So it goes on. He chooses not to listen. He listen to the war efforts. And then
the pie war.
Where they
throw pies at each other.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. It's fun. It's fun. Kids are going to think it's funny and laugh, and it's fun. It keeps it upbeat and lighthearted. I'm trying to keep in mind this is for kids. I don't have to be a mean critic over here. But Larry then gets distracted to see something out his window.
Yeah, he sees a child bathing.
Out of a dumb binocular things.
Like watching it as an adult,
that's
like
such an old thing. People don't know that. People don't know those. It's the dumb sightseeing.
You put a
Grand Canyon or
quarter in. What's a quarter? I don't know. You swipe your credit card and tap your credit card, and you can see things a little bit closer.
And then you to them.
But as an adult watching it and knowing the original, like I knew what happens in the show, or in the original story, and I had seen the show.
See, I was like,
but originally, like it shows it, and he zooms in on this child in the bath. I'm like, wait, where's this going? Oh, the duck.
Yeah. I was just thinking at the end of the day as an adult, I'm like.
And by child, I mean it's an asparagus. Yeah. There's not.
It's a food item. It's a vegetable. I was watching. I was like, but this is a kid in a bath, and like they don't wear clothes unless they specifically have a clothes item. But like, so while he looks naked, that's just how he always looks.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like.
Ugh.
All I know is a naked child. In a bath. Like this is weird. Whatever.
Like this king gonna steal this kid away? I don't like that.
How dare they from a woman to Junior?
Well, the duck. Junior's Uriah.
Oh, you're right. My bad. There was no women in that whole show. Women are just we're gonna talk about.
There's 5 characters in the whole show.
They don't have women? I thought they had women.
No, I guess technically there's. Well, in VeggieTales there is.
Yeah.
But in this short, there's like
shows,
6 people shown.
Which is fun. It's fun for the show. The thing they're going for is more like almost like a stage play type. Which is fun. So
Yeah,
he sees the duck.
he says, and he wants the duck.
He wants it. So he's like,
And the duck represents Bathsheba.
Maybe though. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
It feels like they tried to do a story on Bathsheba and David, but they didn't want to get with the Bible.
And they open up a cabinet, and there's a bunch of other ducks. Another harem.
He's like, man, I want that duck. His attendant was like, Lewis. Was like, oh, but you already have so many ducks, which you love. And he opens up a big old
cabinet wardrobe,
of a bunch of ducks. And I was like, wow.
If really ducks represent women,
we're really just gonna objectify women here, huh? Is that the message? Women are objectified. We just see them as all our women. Okay, we didn't really talk too much about it, but this does showcase that, I remember a dumb joke they make when they say that. On top of the
those are
women,
yesterday's duckies.
They do an adult joke of Lewis is like, come on, you have so many. Even one of the people out there wish they could spend a night with one of these ducks.
Gosh.
They say that, and I was like, I see you, VeggieTales. I see you. Bethany's like, see, funny, even for adults? I'm like, get it?
I don't know. Not in my children's show.
One thing we didn't mention last episode, we were talking about David and Bathsheba, is that
David had some other wives.
Yeah, concubines were still
things. He also had...
What does that mean as Christians? Was that right? It's similar to the slave situation. Slaves. Really? We didn't say no to that? Why didn't we say no to doing that? See,
it's just, yeah.
Because at one side, I like how I see it is that, when it came to the king, they wanted a king. They wanted to have a king, and God wasn't about that. God's like, no, you don't need a king.
No.
And they're like, nah, but we want a king. He's like, fine, make a king. Have Saul. And then eventually got to David. So they're still looking at kings as the worldly. So it's that's why it makes sense. It's as a king, you're supposed to have concubines.
Yeah. You can have whatever you want. You're a king.
Then you still, when you look back in the past of the Bible, certain characters did have multiple wives.
He earned a couple of those wives. He turned in his
who is it? Jacob? Was it Jacob? Gosh. And then he got tricked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking about David turning in a bunch of foreskins for his wife. He earned that.
He earned that.
He paid.
He just paid it. He did.
That wasn't a VeggieTale.
I think a lot of those that wasn't a VeggieTale. A lot of it is I think what people go to is it's cultural. There's a lot of cultural differences. So that's the same thing with what people say for slaves. This isn't the main focus. We haven't researched a bunch into it, so we're gonna drive over it a little bit. But I wanted to mention it at least a little bit because it is oh yeah, he did have a lot of wives, didn't he?
Yep.
Huh. Interesting. But yeah, Lewis makes that joke about what are your people
take a bath with your dog. These are many fine duckies.
But George is like, but I want it.
Those are yesterday's duckies.
Yup. I want this one. I want this one. So what was their plan? Their plan was to first, so it's a little jumbled up from the Bible, but they wanted to first send Junior out to the war.
Yep.
Because his attendant comes in and be like, I hate the war. He's like, I didn't tell me about the war. He's like, I did, but you were in a bath. He's like, okay, we'll send Junior. And then they decide to
kidnap the duck.
Yes, I will kidnap the duck while he's gone. I'm trying to remember all this. I am a little bit sick. What happens next? Junior goes to war.
Junior goes to war.
The front line. He does
front lines.
The front lines. Are you sure the front lines?
It's like he's just a child.
He wants it. No, he definitely wants it. Yep. And so far, it has just shown George as being that. Almost that typical stereotype of the person who's I want what I want, I'm selfish, I don't care. And,
it's the theme.
Has no care for anyone else. What happens next?
So
Junior goes away.
Yeah, Junior goes away, they kidnap the ducky, and he never gets to take the bath with the ducky.
never. Yeah, he.
It just said
right after
that's straight out, not out of the Bible. He doesn't get the.
Right after he gets the ducky,
Melvin.
He's like, oh wow, I love it. It looks so good. And then who shows back up? Junior. He won the war. Is that the next thing that happens?
Or is it the Nathan comes in and tells him
Nathan does come in.
that you took. And his name's Melvin, the guy that comes and tells you things every once in a while.
The wise guy. It was when they said wise guy. That was like I think they said wise man, but like when they said it, I was like prophet.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that
comes and tells you things from time to time.
This was the perfect time to make a connection to God. They literally later mentioned God.
Mm-hmm.
Why you met?
Yep.
Doesn't matter. Melvin comes in. He's like, oh.
And brings his flannel graph.
And he uses his flannel graph. Do you know what that is? Maybe if you went to church.
It's like my Sunday school had a flannel graph.
Never did. I learned that at Boise Bible College that was a thing. But it
was just.
That's a dumb bit for that. It's like, ooh.
It was a piece of fabric.
Yeah. It's like
flannel, a flannel coat. And you could stick other flannel pictures to it because of static cling.
And so it's like a fun little thing you can
basically a sticker board that you can tell the story and take the characters off. Puppet show.
You do like that.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's like, but that was kind of the point. They're probably okay, cool. So this is where it gets like exactly the same. Basically, it's a little bit different, but it's basically the same.
The same story, yeah.
Of that Nathan tells
in song.
That Nathan tells what's it called David. This case Melvin.
Yep.
There
once was a man, a very rich man.
Stories. It's fine. The stories are fun. I mean, the singing is fine. Kids like singing. It's fine. I don't have a problem with it. It took a long time, but it's fine. It took longer than I wanted. But I guess since they're racing through everything, you might as well fill it up with some songs.
Yeah, might as well, spend the time on the Bible. If they're going to quote directly from the Bible, might as well spend some more time on that.
Might as well make it memorable by singing.
I know that whole parable story because I can sing the whole thing.
I hate that. I mean, if it works, good. I should be in here. But yeah, basically he tells the story. It's basically the same thing. And then he's like, oh yeah, that thing happened. And then George, just like David, was like
what?
What? How could he do that? There is a
so
problem
sad.
Though. There's a difference here. Is here it's like here's a story. Let me tell you a story, and brings up the pictogram while in like Bible. It's literally like Nathan coming and be like, hey, this is a thing. And so for all
God wants me to tell you this.
In context reading it, it sounds like he's just coming up telling him, and for all David know, like this is the real problem going on.
Yeah.
That he's being told of. He's like, oh, this is a problem? We need to stop that. That is wrong. And so that's
because David was a shepherd.
Yeah, it feels like it hits way more at home of like, no, that was you. You did this. But yeah, we forgot to mention last time when we were covering this, but like that story would have hit so much harder at home because it was all about like shepherd and how one poor person had the shepherd and ate with it and was like close to it. And,
David took care of the sheep while his brothers were.
Yeah, David used to be a shepherd.
War and defeated lions and bears. Yeah. And he likes the sheep.
So we would have understood caring for sheep and what that's like. It's not something that's foreign to him. And so we get to that, and then what happens right after that whole situation?
So he's told like, hey, you're a horrible person. You stole this guy's duck.
Have done that.
And that was the only duck he ever had. And I don't remember if it's before or after that. I want to say you were right that Junior comes in before, like all delirious from the war.
He comes and then up, and then they're like,
he has PTSD. He's like, his mind's broke.
Yeah, his mind's broke forever, and that's where George is like, it's fine. See,
he's like, it's okay.
He doesn't even need the duck because he can't
He's
remember
crazy.
it, so he can't even enjoy it. And then that's where Nathan comes in. Melvin tells his story. And so then he's like, hey, alright, I'll let him into like,
you need to say you're sorry to him and ask for forgiveness. Yeah. And he does mention like you need to ask forgiveness from God and Junior.
Yeah, he does say that.
Or Thomas.
But that was like the first time we really get the connection with God.
Yeah.
You need to ask forgiveness to God too.
And then he brings him back to the palace.
He's like, hey, come to my bath and feel better. Maybe it'll help you.
Gives this child a bath. Gives him his ducky back.
Doesn't worry about his trauma. Gives the ducky back.
And the PTSD is gone.
Gone. It was a quick bath.
And he forgives him. And then he sings a song about being selfish. Tried it the other day. Something going away, but it weren't. Wasn't.
I was just having once he was singing it. So I was like, okay. We did the story.
And then it came out, and they were like, this is selfishness, and they read Romans.
Yeah, no, so that was the end of the story, and then it goes into the VeggieTales ending.
Yep.
Like, oh, wow. And then,
if you have toys and you don't share them, you're like a selfish man.
He said that.
No.
He just said,
you should probably try sharing your toys.
Yeah, and then they did the verse. What was the verse again?
12:10. Romans 12:10.
Romans 12:10. That's
which is like, be nice to your brothers and sisters.
Yeah, and that's where my problem with it also like exasperated a bit was that
just
like
throw something in there.
It was just like, even if I didn't have a problem that this was like, oh, the Bible, it's David and Bathsheba, but then they changed it. Outside of that, like, even if it was like, okay, them trying to teach about, hey, if you, kid, you're struggling with selfishness, don't share. What did she share? That was it. That was the message. Like, I was thinking in my head, like, man, like, afterwards, I was like, dude, I wish they would have gave something to be like, if you're actually struggling with being selfish, maybe just something of like, oh, this is what it feels like to actually share. Like, oh, it feels good to share. Actually, this feels really good. And it's like, they even make a point at the end to say like, and George gave all his duckies to everybody. And I was like, wow, does this story...
More objectifying of women.
I was like, does this story promote polyamorous and just... want to objectify women and just like, yeah, no, you can just go with everyone.
They're ducks now.
Is that the message? They're ducks. Yeah, so outside even the dumb jokes and their possible connections with the actual story, the Bible, that was my problem. Was like, if you're trying to teach me on being not selfish, I need more. That is not enough. It really does feel like they had this story they wanted to tell.
I have a lot of toys, and my sister only has one toy.
Well then, still, that should have been the point of the last song. Be like, wow, actually, now that I gave his toy back, not my toy, and I gave my toy back, his toy back. Oh, I felt so good. It should have been like, oh, once I gave away all my duckies, I found that I actually had more enjoyment because I knew the type of enjoyment I had with the ducky. And knowing they have that same enjoyment feels good.
Don't be selfish.
So yeah, that's my problem with it. That's my
I was like, we didn't land the plane.
No, it was like the more I think about it, the more I truly think it was just alright, we want to tell what story is called? Oh, David and Bathsheba? Alright.
That'd be funny.
But we gotta change
I dare you to.
Alright, and then well okay, now that we changed it, what would work for kids? Selfish. Yes. Perfect. Yeah. Nailed it. Let's throw Romans 12:10. That's the perfect.
Love your neighbor. Well, it says brother and sister, and the letter is
I don't care.
Siblings. And so that's the same context, right? Literal brothers and sisters?
Garbage. Garbage is what I say. Rubbish. I critique you. VeggieTales King George and the
King George and the ducky.
Not even his ducky. Yeah, I mean, he gave it back. So, like, that's what I was thinking, because I was like, Bethany's like, well, he's being selfish, so that's what happened. I was like, yeah, but he stole. You know, that was really the thing, was he stole.
No punishment, just forgiveness.
It should have been stealing.
Yeah, don't steal.
Like that is the difference. Is like with David and Bathsheba, there's still a punishment. Like
yep.
God. Like God forgives, and David repented, but there was still
there's punishment and restoration there. Where in this, it's just, oh man, I don't feel bad anymore because
I gave it up.
Yeah.
He's fine, so it's fine, right?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, no, you subject this child to PTSD, took his possessions.
No, he's better now.
And then, like,
I was like, oh, he'll feel bad about that.
Nope. Nope.
There wasn't even a point at all. It was just like, oh, well, I guess he can take a soak in my hot tub. Maybe it'll help make him feel better. Oh, it did? Cool.
Perfect.
Hey, man. Sorry.
Didn't pay for his therapy.
Sorry,
Didn't.
I took this up. Here you go. This got me more heated than I was expecting. Especially. It's like when you first was like, hey, we should do VeggieTales this. I was like, oh, sure.
Yeah, VeggieTales, that's fun.
It's
cute.
Like, it's like looking at any kind of like Christian show. It's like, oh, that'll be fun to watch and see what they did. I didn't know, like, but then you did point out, I'm like, hey, but because they did kind of change it. And so I was like, oh, okay. So maybe it'll be a bit more critiquing of what's different. But the more I dig into it, the more I'm just like,
why? I just don't know why they chose this one.
Okay.
And that's the big thing for me. It's like,
why?
why?
They didn't have to. I think it was like the sunk cost fallacy. So I think they started to work on it, and then they saw the problems, but we don't want to waste time of like doing something different.
Someone probably
commit to this. Because a lot of this
they were having money problems at the time.
That's what I think.
So,
it seems a lot of like business. It's like, and like that's the same thing with the scriptures of Romans 12. Because like, as me and my stuff that I make, sure I would like to do more of like showing stuff. That takes energy. Sometimes you don't have that, and so it's like it does come to the part where sometimes you make a less as good product. But yeah, no. So
I wonder if there's any like interviews or anything like, hey, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, looking back on it,
they're like, oh, we should have done better. Or they're like, oh, Bob dared me to do that, and it was funny that it's like how they're like, hey, it'd be funny if you did this, and I thought that, oh, that's funny, and it's like it was a joke the whole time, or if like they actually were trying to, so might be something to look at or try to figure out because. Just it was executed entertainingly.
Yes, the show, the thing itself is still enjoyable. I think you can watch it and still enjoy it.
The message didn't quite land.
That's my critique. Is the message.
And the Bible. If you're not gonna bring the Bible in, why make it a Bible story?
Yeah, that's like because like the songs, they're the fun. Sure, I make a face about it. That's it's okay. I know it's for kids. The songs were actually fun. The whole deal was fun of the normal VeggieTales. Like some kid would watch and still enjoy. So it was like that's none of my problems. The problems were just the message, and especially as somebody like going to Bible school and learning about how do you make a message for kids. How do you take a topic that is not normally for kids, and how do you do it in a way that we think works best for them, and people still do it. And so learning about that and being like, even your attempt at the being not selfish, it's just that in itself doesn't work. It didn't work. It's fine. It'll work. It'll get.
This is also 24 years ago that this was made.
I don't care.
But
they were smart then too. All right, maybe the standards were up. I don't care. I saw David and Goliath. That was a good one.
The sheep fall over.
She fell over. That was good. I enjoyed it. You were small. Yeah. No. See, I didn't mention this before, but the only bits I saw was I didn't see like trailers when we were watching. Oh, they showed. Same story. So I never knew that much. Like I didn't know. Like for all I knew, I thought like David, and like when I saw these trailers, like I wasn't. So like I didn't read my Bible, so I didn't really know exactly.
I don't think I knew it was David and Bathsheba for a long time.
So yeah, I thought Junior was gonna be David because
David earlier. Yeah.
And like that, it was just like there's so much of that. Where it's just
yeah.
A VeggieTales
continuity.
I think the next thing, and this is where it gets in later of the problems of what we think has happened with VeggieTales. My problem with this also, I think it really does showcase, because you mentioned that this was kind of like VeggieTales, or at least people look at this as like VeggieTales.
It's when it's like, yeah, they had just started with the new, it was a new
equipment or
system.
Okay.
They called the old one Lumpy. I'm not sure what the new CGI was, but like this ends with like, see you later, Lumpy. Like,
oh, really?
And so like the next episode is like 100% on the new system, new models, new like lighting and stuff. Yeah. It's not just all in Blender anymore.
Yeah. So, and with that, you're saying like, yeah, they're doing pretty well at this point.
Yeah.
Money wise, like they were able to switch over to a
new system. People are coming over to animate with them, which doesn't cause problems right now, but later they have people that aren't Christians editing people of other faiths, and it starts arguing. But
for the show.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that's where it feels like. It feels like especially going down the line.
Yeah, like
of where we
transition point.
Yeah, of where we see VeggieTales today. Like today, the original owners sold it to Netflix at the moment.
It's like, I'm not sure who owns it, but it's a Netflix original, I think, or something.
Yeah, someone that has the rights to it. I think the biggest
change the animation.
The only way I heard of it was that the biggest thing was that it's
no, it's still like moral based, but
it's about good morals and good ideas. But
you have a lot of that.
Yeah, no, that's might as well about it.
Yeah.
Sure, Christian has good morals, and that's why people used to say, "Oh yeah, no, Jesus was a good teacher, right? He just taught about good morals,
yeah,
right? Good living, right?" And it's like, well, not quite. So, well, learning about good morals is good and all. It's just that wasn't the point of VeggieTales at the time, and so with that change, to follow the trajectory of VeggieTales, even to some degree of like, you know, this is where they were at and what was kind of a quality of product they were producing at the time. And like, again, it's not a bad thing. Like, it's like still was quality wise, it was still pretty good. It's just like as a Christian product, it's kind of lacking.
And I'm not sure what the next episode was. The next one might be like fantastic again, you know, as far as Bible, but specifically, this one was
Life 2. I had to do that was but yeah, no, it's just very interesting because I think of what I've enjoyed. I know I've enjoyed a lot of when it came to VeggieTales, a lot of their non very much, oh, this is a Bible story or good moral stuff. Oh yeah, be caring to each other. Don't be this, don't be that. Like, you know, a lot of like the Larry boys, like, don't lie, the fit, like a lot of stuff like that. Sure, that's a lot of what I grew up on. But like as an adult who cares, who is actually like a Christian now, who cares about the Bible stuff, I'm more interested in old stuff. So like they're Goliath, like or David Goliath, like those stuff I actually am more interested in and see what they did with it. But yeah.
Okay. So after this, they did Esther.
They did
and Lyle the Kind Viking, Little Joe, the Ballad of Little Joe. That's the story of Joseph.
Oh, really?
Yep. Western.
And I have no idea how well those did or how popular.
Yeah.
But maybe they're good. They're great, but
it's like
at least on this one though, you know, following the trajectory.
Yeah.
Of the show,
it seems like by looking at them, like there's ones that I remember less fondly coming up. I was like, Yeah.
Yeah, kind of sad to see that. But that's kind of our thoughts on VeggieTales.
Yeah.
King George, the duck review quickly asked. But I think it showcases some morals. It showcases the idea of like losing sight of what was your point.
Mm-hmm.
The point of the show was to provide kids that were providing a good way. So like, you know, losing sight of that is where we get stuff like we're going to tell a story that's not depending on what you're trying to provide as a value, or what's your business plan, your why, not your how you're going to do your thing, but why you're doing your thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose sight of that, that's trouble.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like, problem. This is a bummer.
Bummer.
Dylan, let's talk about the mission we're gonna point to. Dylan reminded me that we used to do crummies. I think this is when we would do crummies, right? So
yeah,
I think so. I think so. Makes sense. So we'll mention it here. Crummies is a section of the show we used to talk about where crummies is like if anything went wrong last episode or something like that, like something that I wanted to address. Mention it in crummies. I'm like, oh, actually, I said this thing wrong. Actually, David was cool. We don't need to cancel. So like something like that. Or if someone in the comments messaged something, or we got written something that's like, hey, how about this? Crummies is a section where we would talk about that and bring that up. So just a reminder, that is this section. I don't think we have anything that I can think of.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. But with that, we can move on to the mission. Shout out.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be shouting out VeggieTales.
Netflix.
They got shows.
Goodness.
Oh gosh. I think today again, we're still getting the swing of things. We don't have like a mission picked out. I think we're just doing what we got on our show. Dylan's got Boise Bible College.
Specifically, the alumni.
The people who finished. They're better than everyone else.
Possibly.
My shirt is Team Challenge.
Oh, why don't you have one like mine?
I probably could. I probably almost did because of like people giving away shirts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not everybody wants a shirt, alright? Just point your shirt. So I got a shirt that says ending the cycle of addiction. So that's our
shirts.
Shout out. These are our shirts. Are we cool? But I think that's about it. I don't think we have anything planned necessarily what we're planning on doing next. I don't think we're doing another VeggieTales.
Probably not for a while.
We're not.
That's not on my docket.
We're not on like VeggieTale Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Let's find the worst VeggieTales.
Okay.
But definitely down to cover it again in the future. Some kind of it, whether it's like a lot or one that.
Yeah.
I think what would be fun in the future if we can is do like a watch party. That'd be fun. Where you
Lord of the Beans.
Yeah, Dylan was talking about Lord of the Beans and how it was really good, and I haven't seen it, so I've heard of it. So maybe something like that in the future. You can let us know.
Yeah.
You can always let us know if there's something you guys want us to cover in Revelation. But yeah, we'll see what happens. You have anything in mind? Anything you can think of? We're going into November fall time. Thankful. The season of
thankful.
People don't call it the season
Be
of thankful.
thankful.
Is it interesting they don't call it the season of thankfulness? Okay.
Christmas, man. Jesus was born not far afterwards. That's what we're gonna be focusing on. Actually, he was probably born. What? December 25th.
that it? Any last words?
It's like, I don't know. I think it'd be fun to talk about in the future. Like, this is the literal time when, like the early church would say, like, we are the farthest from the sun, because like literally, like winter solstice, we are the farthest from the literal sun, and
really?
They would use that as a way of like kind of explaining why people get like seasonal depression around this time and stuff. You know, it might be fun to talk about like as Christians, like when seasonal depression stuff hits, like
it would be fun.
Where are we at?
Depression is fun to talk about.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about, not fun to have.
It is important. We can definitely talk about it. I think
or you know,
seasonal depression, real thing.
Like the college will do their Blue Christmas coming up.
No, I think we probably mentioned it several way back. But yeah, definitely college. First devotion, first Thursday of December. Kind of hits on that.
Yep.
Before we go to the full-on joy, having fun time season, let's set aside time.
Yep. Which even in the Bible, it was Herod was killing kids. Like we talked about that kind of last, you know, like
stuff was happening.
And it wasn't winter, but you know, and it was also
yeah. So
but
we can talk about that
after, but
so probably talk about some seasonal depression, possible stuff in the upcoming episodes. We can also talk about some fall season stuff. We might, probably not. It takes a lot of work in figuring out, but we might be not here in a future episode. Like, we might be out and out because it'd be fun to be out fall.
Wear a coat.
I think that's it for this. Credits. Watching, guys, or listening.
Or both. Hopefully you're watching it. Hopefully there's not a world where they're just watching and not listening.
We just were if you're blind.
Not blind.
Blind if you
deaf.
Deaf. Ah crap, I got the wrong one. Dang it!
You got captions, Noah?
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, that's it for today. Last episode we did talk about David and Bathsheba. We covered literally what this thing covered. So if you didn't watch that, you can go on that. Alright. Bye guys.
Bye.
Shalom, shalom. I learned that from The Chosen. Why do they say it twice? Shalom is for like peace, and then the second one's like perfect. So like, kind of like the where it's like it's like the
just
payment.
repeat it. Chai tea.
No,
it's just tea twice.
Like the payment where it's like it's the honor, like the honor, where it's like the first one you pay them for honor, and then the second one.
Yeah, I'm not getting it today.
It's a thing. I learned this. It was a thing. It's like okay, no, it's a double honor.
Oh, okay,
like,
yeah.
You pay them, and then yeah.
Firstborn.
Yeah, shalom.
Shalom,
like
shalom.
Have, like, so, shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Bye.